I'm a 40-year-old unmarried woman. Just yesterday, the doctor told me I can never have children, and yet here I am, still single. Looking back, I can't help but feel a deep sense of regret. I was a well-proportioned girl with a sweet appearance, and I was the only child in my family. So listen to my advice. Whether you're a boy or a girl, if you're single right now, make sure to watch this video until the end. When I was younger and graduated from university, I worked hard and climbed my way up to a high position in my company, earning a decent income and attracting a lot of suitors. But around that time, my friends were all talking about marriage and they were terrified of it. Some had gone through divorces, while others complained that marriage felt like a nightmare. I started to think that staying unmarried and child-free was the way to go. It felt so liberating. Who would want to be trapped in the confines of marriage? My dad pressured me to get married every year, which drove me crazy. I began to use my youth as an excuse, eventually just putting on a sour face and ignoring their pleas, even skipping family gatherings during the holidays. As a result, I missed out on many potential partners and wasted my youth on what I thought was freedom. Eventually, my parents stopped urging me because they realized they couldn't change my mind. I genuinely thought I had the upper hand, but a few years ago, they passed away without ever seeing me settle down. My mom held my hand and said, "Honey, find yourself a companion. If that doesn't work, you can always adopt." Hearing that felt like a punch to the gut. It left an emptiness in my heart. I used to think I was so independent and strong, but now I see that all that confidence was supported by my parents. I once thought being alone was fantastic, but now I know that loneliness can really eat you alive. With my freedom gone and my parents gone, I'm left all alone, and if I stumble, there's no one to catch me. To the young folks who think being single is a carefree life, let me set you straight. You're being incredibly naive. When you grow old, even if you have money, power, and status, if you have no one beside you, that kind of loneliness will really break you. Honestly, my life isn't terrible right now, but what I fear most is getting sick in old age with no one to care for me, having to find someone just to sign a consent form for a surgery. No matter how magnificent the Forbidden City is, it can't provide companionship, and no matter how loyal a dog is, it will grow old one day, too. I want to emphasize that choosing not to marry is entirely up to you, but don't ever kid yourself into thinking you can manage all alone when you're elderly. The reality is harsh. Those reckless decisions made in youth to avoid marriage and children, and to disregard your parents' advice, can lead to a lonely old age. Watching today's young people mock marriage and say being single is blissful makes me want to shout, will you still be laughing when you're old? This isn't just a scare tactic. It's a lesson learned through hardship. Whether you're a man or a woman, don't wait until your loved ones are gone to regret the impulsive choices you made when you were younger. Having a partner in life is the safest bet. I hope this serves as a warning for everyone. I was born in 1988, so I'm 37 years old now, an unmarried woman at this stage in my life. I've faced countless pressures in the dating scene. Over the past 5 years, I've met at least 100 men, and honestly, I'm at my wit's end. I'm suddenly filled with regret and despair. My family pushed me to get married in my 20s, but I always thought I was still young, wanting to enjoy a few more years of fun. I felt like I had good prospects and could afford to be picky, believing I could take my time before making any serious decisions. I vaguely remember those early years when there were still people around me trying to introduce potential partners. While I wasn't completely satisfied, the options were decent, and I realized I could find good matches. However, my standards and expectations gradually grew higher. I once went on a blind date with a guy who was an entrepreneur making $1 million a year, and after that, when I met men earning $200,000 to $300,000 a year, they just didn't seem appealing anymore. So I kept postponing my search, thinking I could wait a little longer. But once I turned 30, I noticed that the number of people willing to introduce me to potential partners started to shrink, and the quality of the men I was meeting declined significantly. It slowly dawned on me that I might not have the upper hand in the dating market anymore. So starting last year, I threw myself into dating, meeting at least 8 to 10 men each month. I've met doctors, civil servants, employees from state-owned enterprises, teachers, programmers, and regular workers from private companies. I've encountered men who were single, divorced, divorced with kids, and even widowers. I've met men over 180 centimeters tall, over 170 centimeters, and even some around 165 centimeters. I've met guys weighing 120 kilograms, 150 kilograms, and even 200 kilograms. I've met men in their 30s and 40s, with the oldest being 48. However, I started to realize that among these men, those who showed any interest in me often had conditions that I just couldn't accept, or they were divorced, or they simply looked unattractive or were very overweight. Whenever I found someone I liked and wanted to arrange to meet again, they would suddenly say they were busy or flat out refuse. I don't think I'm in a bad position. I have a graduate degree, I'm 162 centimeters tall and not overweight. I wouldn't say I'm particularly attractive, but I'm not ugly either, and I have a decent personality. I also have a stable job. Yet, these men don't seem to value my qualifications. They often prefer younger women, even if their academic and professional backgrounds are less impressive. I gradually came to terms with the harsh reality and finally decided to lower my standards. I would consider a partner who is at least 170 centimeters tall, has a bachelor's degree, a stable job, a reliable income, and treats me well. I even tried to convince myself to be open to divorced men without children. But it's still incredibly hard to find someone suitable. Some people have told me that my expectations are still too high, suggesting I should either accept men shorter than 170 centimeters, or those who are divorced with kids, or those without a house or car and with average incomes, or even much older men. At that point, I finally woke up to how crucial a woman's prime dating years really are, but I can't turn back the clock to my 20s. I truly regret missing out on my opportunities, shifting from being picky and in control to now feeling stuck at a dead end. I honestly don't know where to go from here. Am I really left with no choice but to settle for someone I'm not attracted to just to get through the rest of my life? To everyone watching, where do you think my way out lies?